Today's data centers growing into increasingly complex aggregations of racks, cables, power and cooling equipment. And finding and keeping people with the skills to design and integrate these systems, well, that's a tough job. But if all the components of your data center aren't working well together, you're probably wasting money. And you're probably putting the reliability of your infrastructure at risk. Hi, this is Jim Malone with IDG, and I'm here with a pair of subject matter experts to talk about some of the solutions to that data center integration dilemma. First, let's meet Bob Gallagher. Bob is the Solutions Marketing Manager with Panduit Corporation. Panduit is a provider of integrated data center solutions. Bob, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And also with us, we have Gary Miller. Gary Miller is the North America Key Accounts Manager for Stultz Air Technology Systems and a partner with Panduit. Gary, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks.
So Bob, let's just dive in. Data center complexity, it's no secret. What are some ways to simplify or reduce that complexity?
Sure. Thanks, Jim. Yeah, the growing complexity of data centers today really presents a challenge on keeping all the right people needed to cover the various components in a data center. So you talked about there's power, cooling, racks and cabinets, copper and fiber, containment systems. There's a lot there, so it's difficult to have all of those skill sets properly covered. And there's significant risk associated if any of those weak links in the chain bring your data center down, right? So traditionally we have both the IT side of the house and the facility side. IT group is focused on the network, where the facilities group is more on the power and cooling. Now we find that these two groups have very different views, priorities, and preferences of how to go about a data center. So it's challenging to bring them in as a cohesive group. That's one of the things we need to do. And network reliability is in jeopardy if all of those pieces don't fit together well. And another complexity involves how do we build our data center where it can grow with the growing needs of the business, right? So one easy way to go about that, though it's kind of sloppy, is to say, well, I'm going to build for the capacity I'm anticipating 5 years out. While easy to do, that's very inefficient in CapEx and OpEx use of money, right? An alternative to that is, can we build our data center capacity incrementally, maybe through pods or modules, right? So that way, on day one, we build maybe an 8-cabinet pod, and then in year 2, year 3, as additional capacity comes on, you can bring that in a nice increment. We're going to show a photo of an 8-cabinet pod that we have built at our thermal lab that is really a small section or a piece of a data center that can be replicated over and over again, and that way you defer your CapEx investment until you actually need the money. So it's a very simple approach.
Well, that makes perfect sense. You have to plan for growth, and doing it modularly like that makes perfect sense. Now, if I'm an IT director or IT leader thinking about, I want to take that plunge and look toward integrating these components in a kind of smart way, there's 3 choices. Let's narrow it down to 3 choices. You can do it yourself, you can go with a single source provider, or you can go with a best of breed approach. Let's dive into those one by one. Talk about the do-it-yourself approach.
Sure. So many large companies do go with do-it-yourself. They're enabled to do that because they have large resources, they have a lot of expertise, they're a large company. But small and medium companies, really what we find is their data center staffs are more lean, they're more focused on day-to-day operations. So for them, when a new data center project comes along, they really need to look to the outside for help in bringing in the latest and greatest technology.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about the next choice, the single source provider? What are the pros and cons there?
Right. So single source, the obvious advantage of single source is that you have one person who's responsible, one person to hold accountable for any problems. And you avoid that finger pointing that happens if any problems arise. The challenge we have that is those companies tend to be pretty inflexible. Some of these big box providers have canned solutions that they've already set up. When your needs are a little different and need it tweaked, you find them pretty unresponsive. So that inflexibility becomes a challenge with that approach.
And finally, that best of breed approach. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so best of breed is another alternative where now I can go out and I can buy from the power expert a separately contract, for the cooling expert and a separate contract. But now you're left with the burden of integrating all of that, bringing that all together, right? And what we find is the interdependencies between those different areas are typically underestimated. And during the project execution, that customer finds out, boy, it was a little more difficult than I thought to bring that all together. So really that's the challenge with best of breed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, as an IT person thinking about doing this, are you locked into those three choices, or is there a better way?
You know, there is a better way. Integrated best of breed. So in this approach, we have one company who is in charge of the design and the supply of the entire system. The power, the cooling, the physical infrastructure is an integrated whole. So Panduit offers a single point contact in that scenario where we can then leverage our partners. So Stolz is a global leader in data center cooling, PDI a global leader in data center power. Our three companies are partnered together to bring an integrated solution that addresses all of the needs of the customers. So that's a great approach there. It's a great partnership, it's a great fit for the customer.
Excellent. Now, before we get Gary Miller with Stolz involved in the conversation, Bob, talk about an example where you had a company that benefited from this integrated best-of-breed approach.
Right. So we recently had a customer who is building a new data center as part of a co-location facility, and they originally had used one of the single-source big box suppliers, but they had some problems. What they found was there was problems with the overhead supports, there were some interferences, there were some obstacles that had to be overcome. When they called that single source supplier, they found them pretty unresponsive. They really had to work through those problems themselves. So they were frustrated, and on the next project they looked for an alternative. They called Panduit. So we engaged with them, we engaged with our partners. We went out to the site, visited to see what went wrong on the other projects, what were some of the unique challenges. We engaged our services group, and then we brought a full solution that really was much more responsive to those particular needs. And the thing that it worked very well, but it was so well that on the very next project they hired Panduit again for repeat business. And we've always said the best compliment you can get is repeat business. That's the best testimony. That's what we received there.
Exactly. So if you're an IT person, you're thinking about getting started on this journey to integrate your data center, what's the best approach? What are some steps? How to think about this?
Sure. We break it down really into 3 steps. There's evaluate, design, and transform. So let's talk about each one. So the evaluation is kind of what I talked about with our advisory services, where we're going to sit down with you and evaluate. It's really important right up front, what are your key priorities with this data center? Maybe there's thermal efficiency gains you're looking for. Maybe there's expandability. Maybe there's particular obstacles that you have. You have limited space. There's always something that's unique. We'll evaluate that, we'll discuss pros and cons, and then we'll come to a collaborative decision on some different best approach to go forward. That's step 1. Step 2 is then design. This is where we bring our partners, Stolz, PDI, Panduit together, and we come up with a detailed design that meets those goals. And step 3, transform, what that means is we bring an integrated project management team that comes out to the field and ensures that each of the components was installed properly, that they're fitting together well, and then we ask the customer, are all of your needs met? Make sure that this facility is functioning the way that they intentioned. If there's any problems, we'll go ahead and remedy them. So again, 3 steps, evaluate, design, and transform.
Thanks for that, Bob. It seems that, especially in that evaluate step, that's critical. I heard you talk about a couple of aspects that really will translate for a lot of IT folks into agility, speed to market, so really good business value props in there. So let's get Gary Miller involved in the conversation. Gary, Stolz Air Technology Systems, a partner with Panduit in this integrated approach. What does Stolz bring to the table?
Well, we are a leading provider of mission-critical precision cooling solutions. It's all we do, so it allows us to really focus on the marketplace and focus on our customer needs and rapidly respond with the appropriate solutions. We've got a long history of innovation and providing energy-efficient designs, so we really have a significant impact not only on the CapEx that the customers have, but also the operation savings as well, which can be significant for the cooling component of the solution.
Gary, CapEx, OpEx, very much on the radar for lots of folks. Let's dive into that equation a little bit more. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, as part of the integrated solution, one of the things we're doing is containment. And what containment involves is isolating the 2 air streams, the cold air stream and the warm air stream. This has a significant impact on our cooling equipment. If, for instance, we can increase the return temperature to our cooling units from, say, a 75-degree return temperature to a 95-degree return temperature, that can help us increase the capacity of a given unit by almost 66%. So that has a significant impact on CapEx. The customer doesn't have to purchase a larger system, they can get by with a smaller, less expensive system. On the OpEx side, what we're able to do by having those higher return temperatures is lower our fan speeds, which saves significantly on energy costs. And in that scenario, we can save about 50% on fan energy. So both from a CapEx and an OpEx perspective, the contained environment has a big impact.
Excellent. Let's take a little bit broader view, Gary, just the integrated best-of-breed solution approach itself. What are some of your views on that? What can you share about that?
Yeah, I think by combining best in breed for both cooling and infrastructure, we really offer a very compelling offer to the community, especially with respect to cost of a solution as well as time to market of a solution. And from a cooling perspective, we've got a number of options that we can provide, whether it's refrigerant-based solutions or chilled water-based solutions. So we really don't have an approach that's one size fits all, but rather it's a flexible arrangement where the customer can match the best technology with their requirements.
Thanks, Gary. And with that, we're about at the end of our time for this session. I want to give a big thanks to our subject matter experts, Bob Gallagher with Panduit Corporation and Gary Miller with Stolz Air Technology Systems. Thanks so much for your insights and expertise.
Jim, thanks for having us. We really enjoyed the conversation.
Appreciate it.
Great. And for more information on integrated data center solutions, click on the green resource list icon on your screen. And for IDG, this is Jim Malone saying thanks for watching.